I faced the wrath of education. I was not hired. I couldn't get a job as a teacher for 15 years. I was blacklisted, totally blacklisted. I was a perverse person who would only be teaching children how to hate children and never to become parents. I had to go through picketing lines. Godless bitch, go home. Not my kid. You won't talk to them. It was one of the most shocking times of my life. I still have PTSD from some of what happened. Death threats are not funny.
I'm Keltie McGuire, and you're listening to the Kids Are Child-Free podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Kids Are Child-Free podcast. Today, I have an absolute legend on the podcast. Truly, this person is such an icon in the child-free world. Some of you may be familiar with her. I know some of you are, in fact, because I've had numerous requests to have her onto the podcast. I am speaking about none other than Marcia Drut-Davis, who is an American author, speaker, and longtime pioneer of the Child Free by Choice movement. Now, Marcia first gained national attention in 1974 when she publicly explained on 60 Minutes, with her in-laws present, I should say. She explained this to her in-laws, why she and her then husband did not want children. And you can't even begin to imagine the backlash that came from this appearance on national TV. This was a decision that cost her teaching job. It led to intense backlash and scrutiny. She even received death threats. Marcia went on to write influential books, including Confessions of a Child-Free Woman and What? You Don't Want Children. And she has been such an important and big advocate in normalizing child-free lifestyles. Marcia's now in her 80s. She has so many stories to share. She's just a wealth of information and experience. And we had such a beautiful conversation that I cannot wait to share with you today. I am going to let you, Marcia, open up today's wonderful conversation. I'm setting the bar high by saying it's going to be wonderful. Actually, arguably, that's too low because I know it's going to be phenomenal, everything you have to share. And why don't you just start by telling us a little about yourself?
Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. A little bit about myself. Where do I start? I'm 83, so there's a lot. I've started this journey in 1974, and I'm continuing the journey through you, through the people we're going to reach, in the hopes that people get to understand that choosing to raise humans is not a biological destiny. It is that choice. And it's a choice we can make with pride, with excitement, with genuine love of the lifestyle. It is nothing against parenting or people who parent. That's their choice. I respect it. But don't tell us that we're hedonistic, unloving, selfish, uncaring, doomed to be miserable and lonely as we age. That's me.
And you're none of those things. From what I know about you, you are caring and loving and, connected. And I see this decision not to have kids. It gets to be a celebration. And I feel like that is an extremely different place than not all, but a lot of people arrive at this choice at, which is with a sense of shame and what's wrong with me and why don't I want motherhood like I've been told I should. And so maybe you can start by telling us a little bit about how did you personally arrive at this choice not to have children, and when was that?
Yeah, I think it was probably from the time my mother said that a baby comes out of the vagina, and my eyes opened like this and said, "What? Out of the who? What?" And there was a moment where I said, "I don't think I want to do that," but I was young. I was a kid.
Yeah.
It evolved. It kept evolving. I started to see my cousin who had a little boy, and my God, visiting her and seeing what she had to do just to take care of this little boy. I came home. I was absolutely exhausted. But I wasn't married. I didn't have to worry until that first marriage. And we never talked about whether or not. Of course we were going to. Thankfully, I divorced the bastard within 2 years, so I didn't have to worry about it. But I think the real issue came in my second marriage. I was a little older, and the pressure. When are you going to start? When is that guest bedroom going to be a baby's room? And the two of us, again, had never spoken about it. So my dad, who was very wise, sent me the book, The Baby Trap.
Okay, hold on, because I've heard you talking about the baby trap and how important this book was for you, but the part that your father sent you this book, I mean, what kind of man was he to send you, a young woman of a certain, I mean, in general, for anyone's father, but like, this is incredible.
It is incredible. And I think he kind of felt that there was some questioning. He never asked me, he never said anything. But his wife at that time was a librarian, and she had
Hmm.
seen the book, and perhaps it was her who,
Yeah.
said, "Why don't you give it to your daughter and see how she feels about it?" It was not, read it and let me know, or
Yeah.
some kind of a sense of maybe it was his own feeling of responsibility or his own trying to reach me because he knew I was older. I was in my 30s, and boy, the
Okay.
pressure was on.
I
But
bet.
that book set me free, and
Wow. Okay.
set me free.
And I was so excited that your father got you this book. I cut you off a little bit there. This is The Baby Trap by Ellen Peck. And for people who aren't familiar with the book or haven't read it, what essentially does this book communicate, or what did it open up within you reading it?
Everything that every book now says, except it was 1974. Now, you would think by now there would be a huge change, and there is a slightly changed, but it was
Yeah.
the exact same thing. It was the word pronatalism, which I had never heard of. And I couldn't
Hmm.
wait to repeat because I sounded so smart. Pronatalism. I felt like I was like a, because I had never heard that word. It talked about the pressure. It talked about choices we make because we think it's the right choice. I was, by the end of that book, I devoured it. I gave it to my then husband. He devoured it, and we looked at each other and we said, "We're child free. We're not childless. We're child free. We have the right to choose what's right for us." And the funny thing is, he had written a song for me about the back porch and looking at his lovely wife holding a baby in her arms that were from both of us. And the little bastard wound up falling in love with my girlfriend, and I divorced him
Oh
because
my
he
gosh.
married her.
Okay. Wow. I'm going to try and keep things on track with this child-free decision, but like
Sorry.
departure. Okay. So just to be clear, you mentioned the bastard. You were together 2 years. You read The Baby Trap while you were with him or after?
I read the first was 2 years. The
Okay.
second was almost 10 years.
Okay. And
So,
so Frank is your husband now, correct? Is it
Jim,
Frank? Jim.
let's
Who's
get
Frank?
confusing. I'm
Who's
sorry.
Frank?
Who's Frank?
There's a Frank in one of our
Frank in
futures,
the
apparently.
house.
Okay, so he is your third husband, correct? Okay. Okay, so your second husband, he you read the book, he read the book, and was he like, okay, cool, that sounds good. Like, I'm
He
on
was
board
as
with.
shocked as I was because we had never even talked about it.
Yeah.
Never. And he just looked at it and he said, we've never come to that discussion. We really should, because this is the time of ever. I was in my 30s. By then it was even considered a bit late. He said, "I really think that this works for me. I don't think I want to have children." And I said, "Oh, this is such a relief. We don't have to have children." Um, it was I was giddy. He was giddy. I think we went
Yeah.
out and had pizza or something. We were just so happy to know that it was normal. We weren't crazy. It
Yeah.
wasn't so easy, to tell our friends and family, and
Yeah.
that's a whole other story.
Okay. And I just want to say all good things in life I celebrate with pizza. So I'm glad we share that in common.
But we all now lactose intolerant.
Oh no. Okay, so I would like to say, yep, you read the book. You and your husband said, "Okay, great, we're not going to have kids," and you lived happily ever after. But first of all, we know that's not what happened with the relationship. But what happened where it concerned this decision? You mentioned telling friends and family. I mean, first of all, I know some people who make this decision, they're almost avoiding, like, I don't even want to tell people. I don't want to. You were clear that you wanted to let people know, hey, we've made the choice not to have kids.
Right.
Is that
Well, I did it in the most unique way.
okay? Tell us more.
Shoot me now, but because I became very friendly with Ellen Peck, she and I worked on the first huge seminar on the child-free lifestyle.
Mhm.
And 60 Minutes was doing a piece on those people who don't want to have children. And I was found, and somebody whispered that I had not told our parents or our friends really that we we weren't at that place yet where we felt the confidence. Like I'm wearing Childfree earrings right now. I exude the confidence, but then no. And to make a long, sad story short, we appeared on 60 Minutes after that show. After the seminar was over, they followed us right into my then mother-in-law's and father-in-law's apartment in Queens, New York.
For someone who's like, I wasn't fully quite comfortable with this whole thing to tell the world, and then I'm going to go on 60 Minutes for our international listeners. Is this still a show that's on? Because I'm familiar with it. It is, right? Like huge evening news show, and also massive. Okay, so you go on television and decide to tell your in-laws, correct, that we've decided not to have children. And how did that go?
Well, first of all, my mother-in-law, we didn't tell her what the story was about. And like here at 60 Minutes.
Did she think you were pregnant?
No, she thought I was either a nudie dancer, a swinger, a drug addict, an alcoholic. She went through the litany of, she never even suspected that the word child-free or not having, it was like an unknown to her. She was beyond belief shocked. And of course, as you know, in any kind of programming, when timing, as you will do with this, there's editing.
Yeah.
And I was interviewed for 2 hours in the living room with one camera person. Everybody else was in the kitchen. And you kind of fade out everybody in the background. It just becomes the four of us. Mm-hmm. I was astounded at what happened when I saw the actual interview on Mother's Day, 1974. And Mike Wallace ended the show with, "Pardon our perversion for airing this on Mother's Day. Good night, everybody." That's how he ended it. So I was now perverse. And I faced the wrath of education. I was not hired. I couldn't get a job as a teacher for 15 years. I was blacklisted, totally blacklisted. I was a perverse person who would only be teaching children how to hate children and never to become parents. I had to go through picketing lines. Godless bitch, go home. Not my kid. You won't talk to them. It was one of the most shocking times of my life. I still have PTSD from some of what happened. Death threats are not funny.
Oh my gosh.
My dog was also, they said, "You don't even deserve a dog. We're going to kill your dog when you're walking it." So I was always looking around. At night, I had the blinds down. I was so scared.
There's the private response and the public response to what you shared. I'm curious, having the world only seen a small glimpse of this conversation, what were the private conversations, not just with the in-laws? And of course, they're private. You don't have to air it all here, but I'm curious.
How did air it? Don't worry.
Yeah. How did people in your life receive this, both what you shared on 60 Minutes as well as in general, about this choice? And then how was it received publicly? And were those the same, publicly, death threats? I'm speechless in the sense, I've heard your story before. I believe I've seen, you can still access the clip. I'm sure I've seen it unless I've dreamed it.
Access it. I do have a copy of it. So if anybody wants to, check, I can prove of what was said. Yeah. I can't prove of what was taken out and how my ex-husband looked to be the victim and I was the bitch. He hardly.
And P.S. we do very few edits around here. It's usually if my dog starts barking mid-conversation. So people listening can rest assured you hear it all. Now, what we say before and after the conversation that doesn't get recorded, that's something else. But that's between me and Marcia. So.
Question.
Yeah.
My in-laws were shocked. My mother-in-law was crying. My mother-in-law said, "Warren," my ex-husband, "what did we do wrong in raising you? What did we do wrong in raising you not to want to have a child?" That was one. My mother and my stepfather were more quiet about it. At the time of the viewing on 60 Minutes, at the end, there was a hush because I was shocked at that ending. And my mother looked at me and said, "Well, now you're going to be known, and I hope that it's okay." And she walked out. But she never said to me, "How could you do that? Why?" She was quietly disappointed, I think I would say. Quietly upset because she loved being a mother. And in fact, after my mother divorced my father, remarried, She had another child. I was 15 years older when my little sister came into my life. So she always wanted to have another child, and she couldn't believe I wouldn't want it. But she never made it a big thing. Never.
Mm,
Never talked to me and said, "Are you sure?" I think
yeah.
she really loved me and respected me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's okay for people to be disappointed or not like our decision. And there's also a way I think that we can engage with our loved ones around this choice that is respectful. And we don't have to I don't like many choices of people I know and love make in their lives, but we can be civil about that. Okay. And so it sounds like for the most part, there was civility amongst family members. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have this suspicion, and it's more than a suspicion, but I think when a couple jointly decides not to have children, or that's the path they walk, let's say, regardless of how they arrive at that decision, often the blame falls squarely on the woman, as in she's the one leading the charge with this choice. It's her fault. She's a bad woman. He's just getting sucked along. His prospects of fatherhood are being taken from him. I'm interested if you think that dynamic was going on, because I'm not hearing about was it Warren? I'm not hearing about it. Not
Nothing.
hearing about Warren.
Nothing. His job was intact. His friend, nothing. He didn't have the picketing. He didn't have the death threats. I was the badass. I was that woman who probably convinced him. It's like, yes, you hit on it. You hit on it so well.
Yeah.
It's the woman. It's usually the woman who's blamed
Yeah.
for everything. That, she's a selfish bitch and she doesn't want to give birth and she doesn't want to stay home and raise the children and give the husband the child as an example of love. Bullshit.
Your story, and I want to talk a little bit more about the fallout in a moment, but you sharing this decision in a very public forum and way, which let's face it, very few people will ever do again. Maybe I don't think anyone can top you on that, Marcia. So congrats. But it can feel kind of like a 60 minutes coming out for people if they're making this choice, especially when they're confronted by let's say if they come from a really religious upbringing, or their culture dictates that they need to have children, and regardless, there of course are pressures in many of our families and amongst our work environments, et cetera. But for some people, those are very, very strong and scary, and could mean being fully ostracized from their loved ones. What should they do? Because I can see people being like, that's just too much for me. A, I'm just going to have kids, or B, I'm going to stick my head under a rock after I make this choice. How would you consider contending with that if someone's leaning towards or considering the child-free path?
First, let's talk about the parents, okay?
Yeah.
And I didn't know this until years later, so take my wisdom and use it.
Yeah.
If you take the hands of a parent and look into their eyes and say to them, "You raised me the right way. You did give me the roots to grow and the wings to fly, because you have given me the ability to be me. And I will only show you how good a choice that is for me. I intend to do whatever I can on this planet to make my life better and the people around me better. And I want you to feel the pride that I have in you of being raised the right way, that most people don't have this ability to make a choice so profound. And I want to thank you for that." It's very hard that they can come back with anything with, "Whoa."
That is so beautiful. I just had the full body goosebumps going. Not a
I
parent,
wish I had done
obviously.
that when I was younger.
Yeah. Well, so how did you arrive at that realization that these could be some really healing, supportive words for someone navigating this, and for the person they're sharing this with?
Because the parents or the grandparents to be are pressured by their peers.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be a grandchild.
Yep.
What's going on? How come? I have pictures of little Jody and little Joshua, and look at what's happening to Abigail. She's so wonderful. And that parent has nothing but a granddog, which, by the way, I think is precious, but they may not think it's as precious as that little girl or little boy. It's never the teenager. It's the pictures of the children and the babies, because so often, as the humans grow, the interest is not there anymore to show off the teenager or the young person. It's the babies and the children that give them accolades, that gives them higher standing. Look at an obituary, mother of 3, grandparents to 10, great grandparents. Whoa, they have won the icing on the cake. It's always so important to name that. And when it's not there, people instinctively, I think, go, oh, they had no kids. How sad, how horrible. Nowhere can you write what I birthed. Nowhere. I hope somebody does write that after I die. 2 books, featured in 2 documentaries, reached thousands through her teaching, more than thousands through her podcasts, more than anything on her Instagram and Facebook. That's my legacy. You're my legacy. So, yeah, I think that says a lot right there.
Well, I think you can, listeners, pull a transcript of today's episode, and you've got your you've got your speech there for family members who may not welcome and receive this decision. And ultimately making this choice, whatever you choose. I mean, we've got people who've already made the child-free choice. We have people on the fence, but it's about figuring out what's right for you. And as you say, a parent who has empowered their child to live a life that feels in alignment with who they are, how incredible. What a gift, right?
Now let's talk about friends, because it's a little different.
Yeah, let's talk about friends, shall we? What do you have to say on that front?
Okay. This has come up over and over and over again. I wish I just had child-free friendships. I wish I could just meet a child-free woman or a child-free man. Yes, of course. It's wonderful to be with the tribe, a community that gets you, that supports you, that understands you. But most of my friends, close friends, are parents. It's because I respected them. They respected me. We had genuine, heart-connected friendships. And I've watched their children, many of whom one calls me grandma or auntie, because I've been with them. And I understood there were times I could not go out with them because somebody was throwing up. I didn't want them to be with me. Maybe they had that. And I had plan B ready because I respected their lifestyle was such that those children, as it should, was everything. So I had to sit back. But when I was with them, if they were to go off on poopy diapers or anything about teething, I would say, stop. I can't relate to this. Can we talk about something both of us would like to talk about? And boy, you know what? They were hungry to talk about something other than poopy diapers and teething. So it's a matter of respect on both sides, boundaries on both sides, loving that's real. You can find out very fast who is that true friend, the friend that gets you. And now as I age, all these friends, too many of them, I'm the one they fall upon as that soft space to cry and say, I didn't expect that my child wouldn't talk to me because my politics is different than theirs. I didn't expect that my child would not call me on my birthday because they forgot or they didn't care. I didn't expect that if I was sick, they wouldn't come over and want to help me because they're on another continent and they can't. And all those expectations not met hurt. And when I get it and say to them, I get it, so let's talk about how we can overcome that, it's so welcomed.
Part of what can happen is when we're grappling with this kids or child-free decision, we really start going in circles. We get stuck thinking the same things over and over again, sort of being in our well-worn ways. And it can be really hard to take our thinking and our decision-making in a fresh direction, to actually get new insight and to feel like we're making steps forward towards a path, whatever that may be. If you want to break out of that rut that you are in and to get some insight from someone who is not your partner or not your mom, not your best friend, somebody who can really be impartial in this decision and can ask you thoughtful questions and who can make observations about what they're hearing and what you're seeing as far as where you're stuck and what it is you want, you definitely want to check out my Clarity Booster offering. This is the most accessible way of working with me one-on-one. What it is we meet for a 1-hour coaching call where we're going to tackle a specific aspect of your kids or child-free decision, where you're feeling stuck. I'm going to ask you a bunch of thoughtful questions. And after that coaching session, I'm going to give you some specific takeaways and exercises for you to do on your own after our call. Then a couple weeks later, we're going to meet up for a 30-minute follow-up call where we're going to see what kind of traction you've made, where you're at, and where we go from there. If you're interested in checking out the Clarity Booster offering, it's only $349 plus taxes, so it really is the most affordable way of working with me one-on-one, of getting my eyes and ears on whatever it is you're grappling with. I'm going to include the details for the Clarity Booster in the show notes of today's episode, and you can also find those over at kidsorchildfree.com. Again, that's the Clarity Booster. I look forward to hopefully hosting you soon for one of these calls. Back to the show. I think, first of all, I understand for people who are either in the throes of this decision or have recently decided, or maybe not, years ago decided to be child-free. I get the desire to want to have like-minded community and people who are in the same or similar sort of stage of life. And I fully respect that. And I'm also, I'm here to facilitate those kinds of connections. And what I've noticed in my life and what I'm hearing for you is it's not just as simple as, oh, you don't have kids and I don't have kids. It's more about having respect in your relationships. I think it comes down to shared values. And it's kind of like the idea, it reminds me of when I was single. Somebody would say, oh, you're single? We have a friend who's single. And it's like, just because two people are single doesn't mean they'd be a good match. Just because two people are child-free doesn't mean they have anything in common for a really good, true relationship. And so, I'm hearing from you, it sounds like, and I frankly think, I appreciate that people have struggles with their parent friendships and there's that disconnect and there's that lack of common ground. And I think sometimes that speaks more to the fact that maybe there wasn't as much common ground there to begin with.
And maybe it's okay.
It's okay.
To say to yourself, this is a toxic relationship. If I don't have respect, I don't need this relationship. Now that's hard because the blood is thicker than water bullshit, I've had to do that with a niece and a nephew.
Okay.
13 years I've tried and I stopped. I'm realizing now that the other people in my extended family that I've chosen take their place beautifully. They care.
Yeah.
They're cool. They're with me. So there are times, just because we're born into a family doesn't always mean we belong there. And we have to respect that. If we're not getting it in the least respect, we need to leave.
Yeah.
And wish them well, not harm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I think, the piece that a lot of people have trouble with, right? And of course, I think when we're on the other side of those relationship breakdowns, we can have that kind of perspective. I appreciate it. It's very tough when we're in the middle of that. But I also love to remind ourselves that, people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, right? And this idea that friendships have to last forever. Maybe there's people in our lives who have come in our lives and they'll leave, and maybe they'll return or maybe not. And that's also okay.
Yes, it is okay. Of course.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's beautiful because when they leave, it opens the door to maybe somebody else coming in that gives you the nurturing and the fun that you want to have. Another thing I want to talk about, and I don't want to forget this, it's perfect. Get younger friends.
I wanted to ask you about that, and specifically intergenerational connections, older friends, younger friends. Obviously, it depends on where you're at in life. Okay, so why does that feel important to you, and why are you suggesting that we do the same?
2 reasons. The older friends die. And, eventually we're going to talk about the fear of getting lonely or being alone as we age. Those younger people fill that gap. Secondly, there's a joy in some of the innocence that you find in the younger people and the wisdom that you gain as you get older. Damn it, how it couldn't happen sooner, I don't know. But I love being able to give that wisdom, whether or not they're ready for it. That's their issue. But it's fun to see a younger person's life and be a part of that life, and to hear about the angst of dating or the angst of schooling or the fears and the wonders of what their life is going to go with. It brings to your life something different. It's something that's not amongst your peers, because your peers are going to talk about diarrhea.
I love talking about diarrhea. Oh gosh.
This fear, that fear, AFib. I mean, it's just like, wow. And even now I laugh when my best friend Jane and I talk about that. We go, here it is. We're talking about it. We said we'd never do this as we got older. But the younger ones, bring to you a life. They bring to you
Yeah.
sometimes sadness that you have to go with them and be there for them. And it doesn't have to be your own child. The joy that I get in having my little Johanna, I call her little because she's 34, I think. She's little. She's my little one. And I adore taking care of her dog because I call it my grandpuppy. I adore being with her when she says, "Oh, you won't believe I went to a singles event and the people there, oh my God." I mean, it's just fun.
Mm.
Plus, I lost a friend 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
7 months I was with her in hospice, as was other close friends. We were there for her, putting lotion on her, bringing her food she liked, sitting with her, holding her when she cried. Not her kids. We were there, the friends, the close friends, the ones that she knew would be there to the end. And right to the end, we were there. So it's important to have those friendships. Those friendships can be with parents too. Like my best friend has two.
Yeah. I was going to ask, is that Jane? You mentioned Jane. Yeah. Okay. So she has children. And like you say, I mean, there can be such expectations, such disappointment, such hurt through having children. And that's not to imply it's not a path we should walk down, but I that's very much idealized, right? And so I'm curious, like in your generation, when you were younger, people were having children, was it that same sort of idealization, romanticization of all the things it's going to be in this perfect family? I always say, around the cabin, or the fire pit at the lake cabin, like was that the dream you think people had? And what's the reality been?
Starting with the shower, that baby shower and all the adulation. I say, if you want to be child-free, have a shower. Have a child-free shower. Let them bring you condoms or, tickets to theater or, courses to take. But be as proud as that, because you lose that in this choice. It should be joyful, as joyful. And I'm not saying that, I'm not going to pit myself against having a human and not having a human as one being more joyful than the other, because I won't do that, to each their own.
Yeah.
Why not? Why not the same excitement and love and pride, but the pride that we must feel in our choice? It affects nobody but us. Oh, people will say, well, what happens if all of you never have kids? Oh, please. Please. Just look worldwide and look, of course, people will not have kids, but too many more people will have kids.
Yeah.
Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get the sense just with you talking about sort of the adoration and being revered for our, prospective impending motherhood, if that's the path we choose, and how we can celebrate that way as child-free people. The sense I get is that's something we have to cultivate within ourselves, because I know there's often this feeling, if we want that like thrust upon us from the outside, right? I want people to notice me, to see me, to celebrate me, to be excited for me. And what would you say to someone who's like, well, yeah, but people in my life don't care that I'm not having kids. They see that as like, thumbs down. That's the secondary decision. Do you think we do have to start celebrating ourselves, or how can we celebrate or learn to celebrate this decision, do you think?
Everybody needs to learn to celebrate their decisions, good, bad, or ugly. Their decisions. And even the bad ones are lessons. They're not failures. Hopefully you learn from it. I certainly had some issues learning who to pick, but eventually I got one, the third one. That's pretty good. But I think we do have to celebrate, and we do have to feel that joy that parents seem to exude in so many ways, and not in the fear of being looked upon. Yes, we may be looked upon negatively, but it's our job. We don't have to change them, first of all, because they may not be that relationship we want. But we have to be happy within ourselves. Now, I celebrate today because my queen of the night, which is a plant that only blossoms once a year, has a huge bud on it. I'm in labor with that bud. You don't know what goes on because it only opens up between 10 and midnight. I want to be there for the birth. I'm laboring.
Will you please share a photo on Instagram? I have to look. I was on your. I don't think I was on your gram the last few hours.
My husband and I did the flower come out yet? It's like, And my butterflies. I love when I see the little worms turning into the pupas and then those monarchs coming out and I set them free. That to me is like, go. You know how the birds let their kids go? That's my kids going bye-bye
Yeah.
into the world. So many ways to birth, so many ways to
Yeah.
give, to love, to just to be. And you don't have to always prove that you're wonderful. Please. If you're not the kind that wants to do that, fine. As long as you're happy within yourself. Because those are the people, the ones who are happy within themselves will not get lonely as they age. Parent or non-parent. Because they're filled with wonder and they're filled with excitement and they want to go to the theater. And as long as you're healthy, even if I couldn't, I would have somebody take me to see it. I'm going to see Inside Perlman soon by myself because he didn't want to, because I went to school with his wife. I do things because it makes me feel good. And sometimes it's just listening to a book or
Yeah.
just sitting outside and looking at the beauty around me. You know, it's there's so many things that are different that can make you happy.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just listening to you talk is making me happy right now. And
Yay!
yeah, and having that fascination and curiosity about the world around us and being in these beautiful, what I think most people would regard as like small, insignificant moments. These are like, it's there. It's all right there in those moments.
That birth of that queen of the night shows you the beauty of in the moment. Because by the morning, it dies. I mean, that's so significant. So in that beautiful moment when it opens up and the smell, from what I hear, it hasn't happened yet, is beyond belief. I'm going to take that in and love it for the moment because it'll be gone. So moment by moment is everything. Sometimes I have to repeat that to myself.
Yeah, well, don't we
Season
all?
with sciatica and a spine man. It's like, I'm also human, Keltie. Don't
Yeah, well,
worry. I have my moments.
I get it. We dole out our wisdom on the show, and it takes, the practice is the tough part that people don't see, the day to day.
Sometimes I teach best everything I have to learn the most.
Yeah, yeah. That they say we need to. I don't know. What is it? We give others the medicine we need to take, or something to that effect. I think I blundered that, but that sort of idea. Yeah. For people, I want to go back to this idea of like these intergenerational connections and being friends with younger people or older people. If somebody is hearing that, I'm like, yeah, I want that. I want to have this really robust network of, found family and friends and actual blood family relations, et cetera. How can they go about creating those connections? Because I think it can be hard. Like, okay, I want to be friends with someone like Marcia. How do I meet a fabulous child-free woman in her 80s? How do I make that happen? Or I want to meet somebody who's, let's say, a couple generations or decades younger than me. Where do we start?
Get involved with life. Join an organization that you love. If it's a church or a temple or a mosque, take part. Be open. Take courses. I always tell I call her my little one. She's anyhow. Learn how to play golf. There's a lot of guys there learning how to play golf. Take a course on how to fly. Do things that open up your life to other people, because otherwise they're not going to knock on your door and say, hello, are you there? If you're not active in life. Now, it is easier if you live in a city, without a doubt. People who are in the suburbs or living alone way out in the country, there's a joy to that too, but there's also a more difficult task.
Mm-hmm.
If they have meetup.com,
yep,
join it or make your own. Go online and say, I want to meet people, or I'm interested in having a progressive party for dining. Be creative to find people. Sitting in your house won't do it. Unless you're on the computer finding a way to do it.
Yeah. And then it's still nice to go meet people in person at some point. Although I do love my online connections. It's
Thank you.
beautiful. Yeah. I want to talk about aging as a person without kids. And I think you've already dispelled, and I know some other fabulous guests of people in their 70s, 80s, even 90s have dispelled a lot of these myths around aging without children. But it holds really firm, right? This idea we're going to be lonely when we're old, nobody will take care of us. It's so often repeated. What do you have to say to that? And how are you contending with that as someone who is 83? How are you thinking about your older age?
As far as aging without children, it is such a fucking lie that we're going to be in total regret. Sad to say, a lot of the parenting friends are not happy sometimes with their choices. They can't do anything about it. Of course, we can't either. But like I said, we can have younger people in our life if that's what's missing. The biggest thing for me is the fear that it's coming to the end. That at 83, the sands of time are coming down, and it hits you. It hits you like a rock falling on top of you. Why? I want to go on. I want to be Peter Pan, but I'm not. I'm human. And if anything, I think it makes me embrace doing more here and now and not waiting and not hoping that I can do this I have my nails done because I like, by the way, they're very natural.
They look beautiful.
People have
very
said,
healthy.
Why do you have fillers? Because I don't want to look the way I don't feel inside. Inside, I feel younger. Not to say that those who don't use fillers are stupid. Of course, it's wonderful. I wish I could save money by not having fillers. But I like that I look a little younger. And I like that I feel younger when I look in the mirror, too. So it's just grabbing this life because I don't know what's going to happen afterwards. My gut feeling is kind of like before we were born. We don't know nothing. So if you know nothing, know a lot now. Grab it, live it, love it, do things, go for a walk, join a club. Don't sit there feeling sorry for yourself. Enjoy being who you are. And sooner or later, either I'm going to go first or Jim's going to, who knows? And I keep saying to Jim, you really need to learn how to cook. It's like, please, would you learn how to cook? I'm afraid he's going to eat the shit after I go. That's a different thing when you're living with somebody. You worry about the other person too. Definitely get a will. Oh my God. And if you can, make a trust for yourself. I don't care. That's one of the most important things. A financial advisor, if you're young, now. I don't care if it's $10 a month. Get a financial advisor. So a will, a financial advisor. What was the other thing? Will,
trust.
Huh?
Does that a trust, or does that encompass those things? Yeah.
That's so important. Yeah, getting older is wonderful. I fought cancer and won where others have not.
Wow.
Honored to be alive, at 83. And I think of my friend Lois, who I lost when she was 18, and how much I've learned. But, you look back and you go, where is it? It's like this. It's gone. It's just a flash of life. So grab it, live it.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm 40 years younger than you, but I increasingly, so I get these, I have these strange moments where I really sense like it really is a flash. It's hard to describe. It's not an intellectual knowing. It's really like this full body understanding of it's so small and insignificant that it's incredible and significant. It's hard to articulate. It's like it's entirely meaningless, and so it's so meaningful. And it's like I've heard people say this for a long time, right? Oh, it goes so fast and you can't believe where has my life gone? But like I viscerally, and I'm sure this will only intensify. I get that. And not like I can get it if I were 83, but yeah.
No, I think you can get it in your 40s too, and in your 20s and 30s. Life is ephemeral. It's just like a blink. You don't think about it too much in your 20s because that's being older. But suddenly you're older. And you look back and you go, wait a minute. It happened to me at 46. I think I knew that 50 was approaching. I would give 50. Oh, that's wonderful. It was like, oh God, it's awful. But it's real. It's raw. It's reality. We can't deny it. We are not going to be here forever. My book will be, though. And
And we need to talk about the book. So because you didn't... First, tell us what they're both called.
Okay, the first one is called Confessions of a Child-Free Woman. That's me.
Beautiful.
That's right 2 weeks before I was told I had cancer.
Oh, wow. And what kind of cancer did you have, and when was that?
Cancer, not breast cancer, not lung cancer. Not to say that those are awful, but it's something that you just don't ever want to talk about because it's like so ooey. But so many women now have colorectal cancer.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So this is my memoir. This talks about 60 minutes in detail.
And it's Confessions of a Child-Free Woman for those listening to the audio and not watching the beautiful video, which of course you should do on our YouTube channel.
I love it. And then I said to my editor, I think I need to write again, maybe add on to she says, oh no, you need to have a new book. So my husband passed out because he said, no, we can't go through this again. It was 3 years of research to birth. What? You don't have children? And the subtitle is Understanding Rejection in the Child-Free Lifestyle. I researched all over the world what happens in Greece, in Italy, in Africa. Oh. Many of us in America will be kissing the land, even though it ain't great right now. But I'm telling you, what they have to go through is nothing in compared to us. Some of them can be killed or stoned.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, if you don't produce a son, you could be thrown out and another woman come in. Astounding, the rejection all over the world. Astounding. That was the second book, and Jim said another book and he'll divorce me. I can't go
Okay. Yeah, we
Although,
3 books will not be a charm, or
I'm thinking of a children's book.
Oh, it's a good idea. Okay, I won't tell him. Shh.
Oh, he knows. He said, don't even say that to me.
We will make sure to link to your books in the show notes of today's episode, of course. And I want to ask before we wrap up, is there anything we haven't touched on that you feel like is important? No, let me ask you this. I want to, first of all, of course, hear from you what you feel is important, what you want to share. But I also want to hear for people who are on the fence about this decision. There's 60, 40, 50, 50, 70, 30. Like, what advice would you share with them?
This is so important. It's not necessarily the human that you're raising. It's the lifestyle that human deserves. Now, a lot of us think about the baby, which is the shortest amount of time in a human's life.
So short.
Learn to say no. I don't want to. And then, of course, we never talk about the preteen and the teen because, God forbid, that's the worst time of the life. So my suggestion is to look at the lifestyle. Do not do it through taking care of a kid for 2 hours babysitting. That's not what I'm talking about. Find somebody that you love that has a child. I don't care what age. Spend a week in that lifestyle. Tell the parents to go on a trip, go on a cruise. You're going to be there for that child. Live the lifestyle, the day in, day out demands that children need and want. Live it and think, do I want this lifestyle? Do I want to do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of my life? And those who say, oh, after they're 18, oh, no, they're not. In this day and age, who can afford to be on your own? My mother worried about me to the day she died, at 75. So think about not just the human, but the entire demands of the lifestyle. Live it, be in it, see the reality, not the fluff.
And I think that's so important.
There will be fluff, as anything, of course.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think getting into the nitty-gritty and really understanding and living to the extent that you can when it's not your children. And I love your point about do it for a week. To your point, we're not just saying yes to motherhood or parenthood or having a child. We're saying yes to the whole life experience and the lifestyle.
Yeah, you have
really
to
good suggestion.
And teacher conferences. You have to take children to after-school activities, play dates. You have to deal with cell phone issues, school issues, what's taught, what's not taught, alcohol, drugs. It's the entire lifestyle. I didn't want that. I just didn't want that. Maybe because I was a teacher too, and I had so much teaching and children in my life, 4 of which are in my will. Thank you very much.
Wow. Amazing.
So, yeah, I love humans. I love people. I love children. Not to say if you don't love them that you're terrible. Oh, no, you don't have to love kids. Just don't hurt them in any way. That's, important too. It's we don't we don't we don't want to think that people that don't have children, all of them hate children. Some of them do. It's perfectly okay. Most don't. Most are caring people.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's been my experience as well. And let's be honest, there's some parents who seemingly hate children. So,
you think?
Yeah.
Abuse? Oh, wait a minute. I thought it was instinctive to take care of children. How could there be abuse? That's my answer to instinct.
Yeah.
Really?
Anything else you want to share with us today?
No, but I love you, and I want you to continue. And please get other people to talk and share, and keep doing what you're doing. I just wish you were here for Thanksgiving, because you'd be here.
Aw, thank you. Well, my husband and I have some lovely American friends who live a couple blocks from us, and they're inviting us for Thanksgiving. We're Canadian. We already had our Thanksgiving, which happens in early October. And it was, well, let's say we were supposed to have some Canadian friends for dinner, and we were both under the weather, so it didn't happen. But I thank you for that invitation, or the gesture, the thought of the invitation. So
it's really important, to keep on going and to make people feel as proud as any parent not to have children.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I always say, it is an equally valid decision. We can have a joyful, fulfilled life, both with and without children. I fully believe that. I hear from you that, you believe that the different paths both can be wonderful. Certainly this child-free choice is every bit as valid. It can be a celebration. I'm really excited about the woman of the night, the lady of the night. What's your flower called?
Queen of the night.
The queen of the night. The lady of the night, something else. Okay, the queen of the night. You're a gift. Thank you so much for coming on today. I know this conversation is going to inspire and touch so many people.
Thank you. I hope so. That's
thank you.
My goal.
Okay, now that we've wrapped up today's conversation, this is the part of the episode where I tell you that you need to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. And you really need to do that. And I'm going to tell you why. And that is because one of the big ways that people find and discover new podcasts like this one is through reviews. So if you yourself can go say what you loved about this podcast, why people who are on the fence should tune into the Kids Are Child-Free podcast, that's going to help other people who are also wondering, should I have kids or stay child-free, to discover us. Thank you in advance for doing so. I will be featuring some of the reviews in upcoming episodes, so maybe I'll share yours. You never know. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you back here soon for our next episode.